are vigilant. We are ATL strong.
Nothing can hold us back. We've proven it time and time again that we're ATL strong.
We are in this together. Let's stay ATL strong.
We are the heartbeat of the city. We are ATL strong.
We can overcome anything because we are relentless in our pursuit of lifting up our communities. We are Atlanta strong.
As a native of this city, there is no doubt that we are ATL strong.
Atlanta is not just strong, we're ATL strong.
We can get through anything because we're Atlanta strong.
We stand together. It's why we're ATL strong.
Practicing faith and not fear, hope and not despair, because we're ATL strong.
Nothing can divide us. We are ATL strong.
We are ATL strong.
We can do this. We are resilient. We are ATL strong.
In difficult times, we'll continue to keep our communities ATL strong.
We can overcome anything. Our city's history proves it. We are ATL strong.
One city together, we are ATL strong.
I am in the fight with you because we are forever ATL strong.
Hey, Santana, it's Jennifer. Are we pretty good to go and start at 10?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Can you tell how many council members are on teams or on the line?
We are vigilant. We are ATL strong.
Nothing can hold us back. We've proven it time and time again that we're ATL strong.
We are in this together. Let's stay ATL strong.
We are the heartbeat of the city. We are ATL strong.
We can overcome anything because we are relentless in our pursuit of lifting up our communities. We are Atlanta strong.
As a native of this city, there is no doubt that we are ATL strong.
Atlanta is not just strong, we're ATL strong.
We can get through anything because we're Atlanta strong.
We stand together. It's why we're ATL strong.
Practicing faith and not fear, hope and not despair, because we're ATL strong.
Nothing can divide us. We are ATL strong.
We are ATL strong.
We can do this. We are resilient. We are ATL strong.
In difficult times, we'll continue to keep our communities ATL strong.
We can overcome anything. Our city's history proves it. We are ATL strong.
One city together, we are ATL strong.
I am in the fight with you because we are forever ATL strong.
Council members, we're going to start in 1 minute, and when we get to the roll call, we'll just unmute everybody's phone so everybody can respond promptly and not have to wait to be unmuted. All right, good morning, everybody. Which we refer to as the budget hearings. I'm joined this morning by my Vice Chair, Howard Shook, of the Finance Executive Committee, and we're going to do a roll call now to see which other city council members were able to join us this morning, and I'm sure others will be cycling in and out as the schedules permit. So, Ms. Kempson-Wright, if you would please do the roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Council President Felicia A. Moore. Present. Councilmember Carla Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Amir R. Faroki. Councilmember Antonio Brown. Councilmember Cleta Winslow. Councilmember Natalie Archibong. Councilmember Howard Shook. Councilmember J.P. Thank you. Councilmember J.P. Mazakite.
Here.
Councilmember Dustin Hillis. Councilmember Andrea L. Boone.
Present.
Councilmember MARCI Collier Overstreet.
Present.
Councilmember Joyce Shepard.
Present.
Councilmember Michael Julian Bond.
Here.
Councilmember Matt Westmoreland.
Here.
Councilmember Andre Dickens. Madam Chair, we have 10 members on the line, including yourself.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kempson-Wright, and thank you to my colleagues for being available this morning to be with us for the fourth day of the budget hearing. For today, all presentations and budget summaries were emailed to the council members last night, so if you want to just check your inbox, they were sent last night around 10:38 and this morning again at 8:53. There should be, I believe, for each of the departments, both the presentation as well as a budget adjustment sheet where there have been some minor adjustments to it. The public may view this hearing on Channel 26, Facebook Live, Twitter, the City Council homepage, and YouTube, as well as by listening via the conference bridges. All presentations are available on the Council's website, located under the Finance Executive Committee Fiscal Year 21 budget page. So for today's schedule, we have, beginning at 10 a.m., the Department of Grants and Community Development. That presentation to my colleagues begins on page 447 of your printed book or 449 of your electronic version, or which is the same as what's on the council website. At 11, we'll have the Office of Inspector General. At noon, we'll have the Auditor's Office. And at 12:30, we'll have the Atlanta Citizens Review Board. So we're going to kick it off with the new Department of Grants and Community Development. We're going to have Ms. Monique Franklin, the Director of Grants and Community Development, as well as John Keene, the Deputy Chief Operating Officer. Before I hand it over to Mr. Keene, I am going to just ask the city's Chief Operating Officer, Joshua Williams, to provide a little overview of this department, because it is a new department that was just formed legislatively in the last few months. So we're building a budget in some ways from scratch, in other ways and moving over existing functions that previously resided in other areas. So Mr. Williams can provide a little bit of overview, and then we will turn it over to Mr. Keene and Ms. Franklin. So Josh Williams, you have the floor.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairwoman Ott. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. Good morning to our council members and all who are on the call. Joshua Williams, Chief Operating Officer with the City of Atlanta. And again, thank you for the opportunity to share a few words before the briefing this morning. As you know, the Department of Grants and Community Development is newly established as of February of this year. The department was created as part of a broader plan to address historical challenges with managing grants across 3 separate offices. While we have seen significant progress in several important areas, which makes us very optimistic, I also acknowledge that things have not always gone according to plan. We have a backlog of contracts, reimbursements, and certainly there's a need for more qualified service providers that can help manage these federal awards. 2 leaders identified for the department have recently departed, and while it would be easy to point fingers or give up, but that would mean giving up on 39 dedicated employees who come to work each and every day, work long hours trying to do their best in balancing the need for compliance and for customer service. As COO of this great city, neither I nor Mayor Bottoms or her administration has and never will give up on our employees, residents, and businesses as we strive to serve our diverse communities with excellence, dignity, and integrity. Those 39 dedicated employees deployed over $30 million for our most vulnerable last year alone. They will be the first to tell you that we need to improve. John Keene is one of those dedicated employees. When I asked him to work with our grants team last year, John did not hesitate. I've only known him to be a very devoted and ethical leader for our city, no matter the challenges that we face. John, as many of you know, comes to the city a proven leader with degrees from Georgia Tech, Emory, as well as Harvard. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan, leading paratroopers, and is also an Army Ranger. Again, I have asked John to lead this team through very tough times as he has done before. Allegations were made that John and his father's relationship with a service provider were inappropriate. Let me set the record straight. John talked to the chief ethics officer before joining the board. He stepped down during this time when I asked him to take on the greater role in restructuring grants over 9 months ago. His father, also a veteran who served in the Army for 38 years, is on the advisory council for the organization. This council has no legal governance at all in the organization. He was also asked to join the council specifically because of the service that this council and this organization provides to veterans throughout the city of Atlanta. Neither John nor his father benefited financially from their roles. They both joined because they believed in the mission, the same mission-driven mentality that John has come into the military service, he also brings here as he worked with the city of Atlanta. John, I want to personally thank you and publicly thank you for your military service as we approach the Memorial Day weekend, and certainly thank you for your continued dedication to our grants team. Council members, John will be presenting, as Councilwoman Ive has mentioned, to the CDS-H committee next week to answer your questions on the current state as well as our future plans related to grants management. Today, along with Monique Franklin, John will present our Department of Grants Community Development FY21 budget and will be available for any questions that you may have. Thank you so much, Councilwoman Ide. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to share these brief opening remarks. And now I'll turn it over to Mr. Keene and Ms. Franklin to kick off today's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. And Mr. Keene and Ms. Franklin, we're ready for you all.
Thank you, Chairwoman Ide. Thank you, Joshua, and thank you, council members. As mentioned, I'm joined today by Monique Franklin. Monique is the Director for Administrative and Technical Services within the department, and I am very proud to work alongside her every day. I have, as Joshua mentioned, been around warriors much of my life, and Monique is one of those warriors. She fights every day to navigate the city's processes, fix issues, and stand up for what is right. And Monique is going to talk about our metrics at the end of the presentation. And there are things to be proud of from the last year, but we also must continue to fight to improve. And she does just that alongside 38 others in the department. As Joshua mentioned, and if we can go to the second slide within the presentation, the summary of current operations, I'm going to talk a little bit about the creation of the department. And Joshua mentioned that in February of this year, the Department of Grants and Community Development was created. The department merged parts of 3 existing offices: the Office of Grants Management within the Department of Finance, the Office of Housing and Community Development within the Department of City Planning, and the Office of Human Services within the executive offices. Based upon research on other municipalities and feedback from other grant staff, we've structured the department into 3 areas: the Office of the Commissioner, the Office of Program and Planning, which delivers our programs and leads the 5-year and 1-year plan that guides our priorities, and the Office of Administrative and Technical Services, which keeps the department and city updated on grants guidelines, policies, and meeting federal regulatory requirements. Moving on to the next slide, talk a little bit about our general fund budget, as well as talk about our head count. The department's general fund budget request for FY21 is $1,179,000. The general fund budget pulls from the prior department and the 3 offices within those departments that merged into the Department of the Grants and Community Development. And you can see that in the pie chart on the slide. Those general funds support 10 positions within the department. And you can see the breakdown of those positions within the 3 offices I mentioned within the department on the slide as well. The 4 main operational areas for the department include entitlement HUD grants related to construction, and entitlement HUD grants related to public services, competitive grants, which are grants where the city must apply and compete with others, and then our Section 8 program, which provides direct rental assistance to individuals. Key metrics for the department include our program outcomes, which is basically how many people we've served or assisted, our expenditure timeliness, which is how quickly we're able to deploy the funds and realize the intended outcomes, and then our compliance, which is our monitoring or audit findings from HUD or other grantors. And as mentioned, Monique will talk more about our metrics at the end. Moving on to the next slide, it's worth highlighting and using pictures to show some of the great work that the team has done over the last year and continues to do. These pictures represent just 3 examples of the work that the grant funds administered by the department made happen. Everything from directly supporting the rent and other activities for low-income residents at Santa Fe Villas, to demolition to remove blight from our neighborhoods, and rehabilitating homes to keep residents in their communities. If we move on to the next slide, we are fortunate to not face changes in our general fund personnel or professional services budgets moving into this next year. We know that's not the case for many other departments. This next year, we will be filling grant-funded vacancies that we have, and we will be using grant administration funds to increase the number of grant-funded positions within the department by 7. For our general funded professional services, we will primarily be transferring existing contracts from the departments previously mentioned. Those will be used to continue investments in technology like our eCivis system, as well as investing in training and supporting our employees. So with that, I'm now going to turn it over to Monique, who's going to discuss our key metrics for FY21.
Thank you, John and Council members. Monique Franklin, Department of Grants and Community Development. The City of Atlanta, and our key metrics for FY21, the City of Atlanta tracks several key metrics related to our program outcomes, our expenditure timeliness, and compliance, and reporting on them are stated through our consolidated annual performance evaluation report that we submit to HUD each year. So basically, it's our report card to HUD of what we've done with the funding over a calendar year. Right now, as you know, our performance does need some improvement. However, that doesn't mean that there aren't anything for us to be proud of from FY20. We served many people, assisted many businesses and other programs through these entitlement funds. As you can see on the slide, through our CDBG program, we served over 2,500 people and expended over $7 million. For home, we served 62 households through homeowner occupied and senior activities, as well as down payment home assistance, and we spent over $2 million. ESG, we assisted over 3,000 families and individuals, expending $522,000, providing homeless services and other supportive services. For HOPWA, we provided over $18 million to 2,400 households, providing home rental assistance, STROMU, mortgage payments, and other supportive services. In addition, the department also helped the city be competitively awarded of $4 million in competitive grants. Those grants were from the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, EPA, and USDA. Just a few other highlights that we've done with these dollars. We've also assisted in putting in sidewalks in low-income communities. We've demolished and removed vacant residential and commercial properties, as well as many other things. As we move into this fiscal year, we expect improvement across all of our metrics. Our program income, with additional funding that we're deploying, such as the COVID-19 supplemental allocation of $9.6 million, and with the additional relaxing of some of the regulatory requirements from HUD, we expect to increase our programs in the numbers served and assisted. Through our investments in training and outreach, we expect to attract additional qualified applicants for these awards. Expenditure timeliness, while we expect this will continue to be a challenge for us, which is through our CDBG program, but given additional and less restrictive funding being made available to service providers, we're making investments to improve our process for tracking and deploying funds and expecting to see results in FY20. In regards to compliance, this is where we expect to see the most improvement during the next fiscal year. We have made multiple investments in seeking additional staff, doing our internal policies and procedures, providing training to staff and to our service providers to begin to pay off in this fiscal year. Thank you to the council and for your continued support and the opportunity today to speak with you all.
Thank you, Monique. And Madam Chair, that concludes our presentation. Obviously happy to take questions.
Okay, let me just get my, I'm sure that council members have a question. I'm going to start with Mr. Brown. I'm going to ask my colleagues if you have a question to please send me a message and I'll get everybody in line. Mr. Brown, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and to Commissioner King, Deputy Chief Operating Officer King, and to the newly Commissioner over the Grants Department. It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for your presentation. My first question, I believe you mentioned this, I'm just curious, what's the total federal dollars every year we receive in grant funding for this department?
Councilmember Brown, thank you for the question. Usually it's about $32 million or so, and that, FY19 and FY20 were slightly different, but it's right about that $32 million number. And Monique, feel free to add or edit what I just said.
That is correct, and there may be additional program income that was generated through some of the programs, but normally it's about $32 million.
Understood. And out of this $32 million, you all are requesting what amount for the budget?
Councilmember Brown, the budget request today is specific to general fund dollars, so it doesn't relate at all to our grant fund dollars and administration that is from those grant fund dollars. So the budget in front of you today is general fund dollars. And the city has made investments in our grant staff and our grants department in general fund dollars, and HUD obviously encourages and then sometimes mandates that cities invest general fund dollars in order to subsidize the management of their grant programs. And so our request today is for just over $1 million in general funds, which will pay for key staff positions as well as certain professional services that relate to systems and supplies for our staff within the department.
Understood. Mr. King, would you say that a fair match, I mean, if we're bringing in around $32 million in federal grants, would you say like a standardized match would be like an 80-20 where we're taking in the grant dollars, but the city's matching by at least 20% just to ensure the sustainability of the department? Because it sounds like now, I don't know the exact number in which you're speaking of, but it sounds like somewhere around like a 10% match. Do you think that's sufficient in order for you to be able to do what you need to do in this brand new department?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember. So a couple of things that I think are worth noting on that. And I did include a kind of sub-bullet on the second slide. I guess it's actually the third in the presentation underneath the pie chart, which gives you a sense of the amount of grant administrative dollars that the department has every year, which is around $2.5 million. So of that 32 million, about 2.5 of that is for administrative purposes. And so when you look at what our match is as a city, our match is about 25%. It's actually a little higher than that. And so we do think that that is the appropriate amount of match. Of course, every department would love to have additional funding, but this is a appropriate match, and these are the dollars that we think is needed in order for us to have the right number of staff that are general funded versus the amount of grant administrative dollars which we will be able to use to ensure that we have many additional staff to do the functions within the department.
Understood. Mr. King, how many financial analysts do you have budgeted currently, and is there a branch manager position budgeted also?
I'll pull up the number of financial analysts here in a second. I actually have my spreadsheet up. But to your question about the grants managers, we have several grants managers, so I can give you that number as well. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grants managers in total. 6 grant managers in total will be within the department. Those are critical leaders in our department. Most of those positions are filled. We have one position that we are, if it didn't get posted yesterday, I assume it will get posted today. So those are critical positions, and one of those individuals leads our finance and data team. That's Kendall Robinson. And to your point, you know, those financial analysts are a key part of our team. We have currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 financial analysts and 1 extra help, and we are looking to hire 4 additional financial analysts over the course of this next year.
Awesome. And Mr. King, have you all budgeted for professional services and technical assistance based on HUD requirements, which a lot of times align with specialized training on entitlement programs?
Yes, I mean, so there's a couple answers to that question, and Monique might have some good thoughts on that as well. She does provide oversight over our compliance team, which is led by Lolita Collins, another amazing public servant for the city. Both in terms of our general fund dollars, we do have the intention of using those funds to help support our compliance activities, whether that's in the form of systems or training. But we do leverage more significantly our grant funds in order to ensure that that is the case, both in terms of training, conferences, other things that are eligible costs for those administrative dollars, in order to make sure our staff have the training that they need. And we have been doing a lot of work with HUD in order to build out individual training plans, because we've been hiring. We're hiring for experience, but every staff member needs the opportunity to learn and grow, and so giving them those opportunities through, attending the amazing conferences that are put on by HUD or by grants management associations, as well as more specific HUD training. The good news is HUD does make quite a bit of training available for free online, and so we've built out training plans for staff related to those free online trainings as well. But Monique, please add.
Yes, that is accurate. And then we can always request TA from HUD. We can set aside some of our administrative dollars in order to carry those activities out. But like John said, a lot of the things that we're going to be working through and through our training programs is available for free to us, which is a blessing. But we also have a great working relationship with our local HUD reps. For any questions or things we run into, we're constantly in conversation with them to work through things. So there is a plan for the training for all the staff.
Awesome. And then the e-civic system used by grants management. I know there is a substantial cost around sustaining the system that you all use. Has that been also included into the budget?
Yes, council member. So that is in our professional services budget. That funding is being transferred from the Department of Finance. It's about $50,000 a year for us to keep those licenses related to eCivis, and to your point, that is a important platform for us to be able to both identify grant opportunities. So Connie Taylor, who leads our competitive grants team, and she's the one who has really helped the city get over $4 million just in this last fiscal year of competitive awards. That's a platform she can use, as well as others in the city, to identify grant opportunities. That's one of the purposes for eCivis. We also use it for the notices of funding announcements related to our grants. And we've stood up just in the last few months the entire platform to allow people to fill out their applications and then do the evaluation processes all within the platform. So it is an important platform for the grants department.
Awesome. And my last question, and I'll yield back to my colleagues. It's around the assets in the department. I know currently the department, and this may have changed, but currently the department has 2 inspectors. Have you anticipated to add more inspectors through the budget? And I ask that question only because I know I would imagine that those inspectors would need a vehicle so that, they're not relying on other sources of transportation to be able to inspect, do the monitoring for the nonprofits, the multifamily and single-family housing projects that they inspect. So is there a vehicle, and is there some kind of vehicle cost included in this budget so the inspectors have access to a vehicle to do these inspections? And then also, are we budgeting for telephones and computers, given that it's a new department, so we aren't using federal dollars to support those needs?
Thank you, Councilmember, for those questions. So on the last question first, we have both been able to leverage the investments that the city has made over the course of the last couple of months in phones and computers for employees in order to ensure that all of our employees have the ability to work remotely. That was not the case in February of this year, and due to the great work of AIM and others within the city, we were able to get our employees those tools that they need, and the team has made a great transition to being able to do that work remotely. And so the answer to that question is yes, and we do support the cost for many of those items, ongoing charges for phones and things, through our general fund dollars, as well as some through our grant administrative dollars. to your first question, that was one of the items that was raised by one of the grants managers this week, and so it's one that I'm looking more into to really understand what our needs are related to both additional inspectors as well as the vehicles associated with those, and we'll be working closely with the Department of Planning to identify what some good options are, both related to how we can ensure that the grants department has the needed resources for inspection, how we continue to leverage the resources within the Department of City Planning related to inspections, and then same for the vehicles. Those inspectors had used older vehicles within the Department of City Planning, and so understanding whether or not there's going to be the need to either transfer assets over to the department or for the department to make its own investments in new vehicles. So that is a question that I'm currently looking to determine what is the most appropriate need and route to satisfy that need.
Understood. Thank you so much, Mr. Keene. And Madam Chair, thank you, and I yield back to my colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. And next we'll hear from Councilmember MARCI Overstreet.
Thank you, Chair and thank you to the entire team that just presented on behalf of our new grant department. And I first of all, want to say that I was very proud to sponsor that legislation on behalf of the administration, because this is my third budget hearing, and on year one, I noticed that we had a substantial gap in the way we were handling our grant management. And I asked then, when are we going to prioritize grant management? Throughout the year, kept circling back, and then last budget year asked the same thing, and throughout the year circling back, because what happens is when grant management is not up to par, the South Side suffers tremendously, because our because of natural makeup, we don't have what we need in our budget, the city's budget, in order to take care of all of the maintenance necessary all over the city. And some other sides of Atlanta have other mechanisms that they can use, such as CIDs and neighborhood units, and that are, well organized and fully funded. And grants management is something that a lot of people are really trained in, and we're missing that on the South Side to a great degree. And so I knew that prioritizing grants management was extremely important. So I'm so glad to see that the city has moved in this direction. And I am your advocate. I'm here to help you any kind of way that I can. I will tell you that I would like to see, and let me know if I've missed anything, I would like to see where our matching dollars are being set aside for grants. The trend right now from other cities and our government agencies is to send grants management to individual cities. It feels like everyone's trying to get out of the grants management business on a umbrella scale, and so it is important for us to get this right and to continue to monitor where we are with it, and to continue to change when needed. So if 2 investigators aren't enough, you need to come to me, come to the administration. Let us know where we are with our grants management, because we cannot let this fail. This is an area where we can really make some serious change in the city by managing this whole department properly. So let's start with that. Do you understand? Do you have a mechanism in which we can actually match, dollars that we can use just for matching?
Councilmember, right now, to my knowledge, the city is not set up, from a setting aside funds perspective, set up in a way to have a dedicated pot of funds related to matching. But what we do, and Connie Taylor, as I mentioned, leads this work. She works closely with each department when grant opportunities become available in order to identify matching funds that can be used for those grants. And some departments which do routine grants that require matches are smart about budgeting for those required matches. But as a city, I am not aware of a particular set-aside fund just for those purposes.
Do you agree that that would help the equity portion of grant capital projects and grants management if we had a mechanism that would allow us to have matching dollars available when projects become important and we need them funded and grants are available but we don't have the matching funds? Do you agree that that would help us?
Well, the one, certainly agree that having matching funds available when matching is required would be, in the best interest of the city. I don't know that my analysis has yet shown that, that has prevented us significantly in some key grant opportunities. But I would just highlight the fact that for many of our grants, they do not require matching. But at the same time, so for most of our entitlement grants, there is no matching requirement. For our competitive grants,
other than the entitlement,
yeah. For the competitive grants, there are matching requirements on some of those grant opportunities, and so that's where, like I said, for those departments that have those types of grants, typically coming up on an annual or on some sort of regular cycle basis, they have become familiar with the requirement to budget for those, and Connie Taylor works closely with other departments that are applying for competitive grants that require matches and how they can build that into their budget.
Okay, so I have a few examples that I'm going to share with you offline of where I didn't have matches, so I missed out on grants. So I would like to speak with you later about what I see as an area that we can better utilize our grant department in where equity is concerned, where we can grow the city and maintain the city in an equitable fashion with grant matching. So
understood, Councilmember, and I appreciate that. I would appreciate that.
And honestly, that's what this is all about, making sure that we're leaving no stones unturned where we can capture dollars, especially since, other counties may be getting out of the grants management, the whole grants management field. It just seems that, we need to make sure that we're not missing any opportunity to grab grant dollars. So I see that you said that we are capturing about $32 million a year in grants. Do you see where we can improve with that? Is that just a beginning, or where do you see us going? What is your goal with that?
The $32 million mentioned, Councilmember, is the entitlement funds, and so those are done based on a formula from HUD. So we don't have much influence over that. I think your question is mostly geared towards our competitive grants, and we do. So we last year, or actually during this fiscal year, we have been able to receive competitively a little over $4 million, and we track and we apply for and track much more grant dollars than that, and sometimes we're denied. Sometimes there's several where we're awaiting decisions, and so there is certainly an opportunity for us to invest more in our competitive grants and look at ways to get more competitive grant dollars, and that's why we've continued to make sure that we've got the right team members on that, and we work closely with the departments as well, because they are a key part of that process, since they ultimately are the ones who would implement those grants.
And that's exactly what I'm speaking of. To me, the entitlement grants are the low-hanging fruit. Those are the easy dollars. I don't want to leave any dollars off of the table. I want to make sure that we're capturing as many grants as possible. So that's exactly the way I see us going in the future, is to really capitalizing on all of our opportunities. And I think this department is the right beginning to head in that direction, for sure. So thank you. Look to hear from me soon. Thanks for your presentation and all of your information.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, Councilmember Overstreet. And next in the lineup, I have Council President Felicia Moore.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. It is still. I don't have many budgetary questions. I think Mr. Brown asked a lot of good questions. I'm looking forward to the discussion in Community Development and Human Services Committee to better understand operationally and where we are in terms of compliance. But my only budgetary question at this point is, when we consolidated all of these offices, have we put in this budget sufficient funds to make those shifts from one department to the other, and made those adjustments and make sure that we're appropriately funding the positions that we have in the department now?
Thank you for the question, President Moore. The short answer is yes. For many months, we've been working with each of those departments, and certainly over the course of the last few weeks, as we've gotten through and into the budget process, we've been working very closely with each of those departments and those department leaders in order to make sure that we've been very clear on the positions and the funding associated with those positions and the contracts that ultimately will be the responsibility of the Department of Grants and Community Development, in order to ensure that the department gets what it needs in order to be successful from a general funds perspective. And so, based upon the numerous conversations that we've had with them, I am confident that that is the case.
Okay, and I'll look forward to the other discussion. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, we'll give another 30 seconds or so if anybody wants to send me a message that they have a question. Otherwise, we will wrap it up a few minutes early and then reconvene at 11 for the Office of Inspector General. All right, Mr. Councilmember Bond.
King, for your presentation. Just a quick question, as I'm also going to wait and hold most of mine for your presentation on Tuesday. But do you have a line item, or have you considered using consultants to catch up on some of the volume of work that this new department has?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Councilmember. We are looking to bring on board some additional program management support from consultants that bring experience related to HUD grants, especially as we're thinking about administering these additional awards related to COVID-19. And so we've begun the process to do that. We've also got an additional procurement that has been in the process for a little bit of time that cuts across both the Department of Grants and Community and Development and the Department of Finance. And that is also a contract that provides additional support, both from a process system standpoint as well as from a financial reconciliation standpoint. And that will be of great assistance to the department moving forward. So we've got two kind of clear items that we are looking to supplement the staff and team in order to get some of these critical things done. We've also got some additional items in the works related to HOPWA and support specific to planning and system level support for the HOPWA program from some kind of key consultants and teams that have experience in that area.
All right, thank you. And I'll hold the rest of my comments for Tuesday, but I wanted to say, in light of the holiday, though we are glad that you are still with us, thank you for your previous service. And
Thank
that,
you, Councilmember.
You're welcome. I'll conclude, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Bond. I think that is the end of our questions from council members. So I'm going to thank you, Deputy Chief Operating Officer Keene and Director Franklin, for this informative presentation. It sounds like that there are a number of follow-up questions that people will have for you at the Community Development Human Services Committee meeting next week. So we will try to get those consolidated and sent to you ahead of time. And but thank you for your presentation today. It is now 10:46. We're going to go on a short recess. The lines will be on mute, and we will be back at 11 o'clock for the presentation of the Office of the Inspector General. Thank you.
We are vigilant. We are ATL strong.
Nothing can hold us back. We've proven it time and time again that we are ATL strong.
We are in this together. Let's stay ATL strong.
We are the heartbeat of the city. We are ATL strong.
We can overcome anything because we are relentless in our pursuit of lifting up our communities. We are Atlanta strong.
As a native of this city, there is no doubt that we are ATL strong.
Atlanta is not just strong, we're ATL strong.
We can get through anything because we're Atlanta strong.
We stand together. It's why we're ATL strong.
Practicing faith and not fear, hope and not despair, because we're ATL strong.
Nothing can divide us. We are ATL strong.
We are ATL strong.
We can do this. We are resilient. We are ATL strong.
In difficult times, we'll continue to keep our communities ATL strong.
We can overcome anything. Our city's history proves it. We are ATL strong.
One city together, we are ATL strong.
I am in the fight with you because we are forever ATL strong.
Can one girl in a small town, an architect in a major city, and a suburban high school coach shape the future of the United States? Yes, they can. Because every 10 years, the census gives us that power. You can shape your future by responding to the 2020 census. Where do we need new roads to make our lives easier? Where will new school programs help our children thrive? Where could a new health clinic benefit neighborhoods? The 2020 census will inform these decisions and shape how billions of dollars will be distributed to communities like yours each year. And in 2020, you can respond to the census online, by phone, or by mail. It's easy, safe, and important. Make sure you and everyone you know is counted. Now is the time for you to get involved. Your community needs you. Together, we can educate and excite, inspire, and make sure every voice is heard. Together, we can shape our future.
We are vigilant. We are ATL strong.
Nothing can hold us back. We've proven it time and time again that we're ATL strong.
We are in this together. Let's stay ATL strong.
We are the heartbeat of the city. We are ATL strong.
We can overcome anything because we are relentless in our pursuit of lifting up our communities. We are Atlanta strong.
As a native of this city, there is no doubt that we are ATL strong.
Atlanta is not just strong, we're ATL strong.
We can get through anything because we're Atlanta strong.
We stand together. It's why we're ATL strong.
Practicing faith and not fear, hope and not despair, because we're ATL strong.
Nothing can divide us. We are ATL strong.
We are ATL strong.
We can do this. We are resilient. We are ATL strong.
In difficult times, we'll continue to keep our communities ATL strong.
We can overcome anything. Our city's history proves it. We are ATL strong.
One city together, we are ATL strong.
I am in the fight with you because we are forever ATL strong.
Can one girl in a small town, an architect in a major city, and a suburban high school coach shape the future of the United States? Yes, they can. Because every 10 years, the census gives us that power. You can shape your future by responding to the 2020 census. Where do we need new roads to make our lives easier? Where will new school programs help our children thrive? Where could a new health clinic benefit neighborhoods? The 2020 census will inform these decisions and shape how billions of dollars will be distributed to communities like yours each year. And in 2020, you can respond to the census online, by phone, or by mail. It's easy, safe, and important. Make sure you and everyone you know is counted. Now is the time for you to get involved. Your community needs you. Together, we can educate and excite, inspire, and make sure every voice is heard. Together, we can shape our future.
We are vigilant. We are ATL strong.
Nothing can hold us back. We've proven it time and time again that we are ATL strong.
We are in this together. Let's stay ATL strong.
We are the heartbeat of the city. We are ATL strong.
We can overcome anything because we are relentless in our pursuit of lifting up our communities. We are Atlanta strong.
As a native of this city, there is no doubt that we are ATL strong.
Atlanta is not just strong, we're ATL strong.
We can get through anything because we're Atlanta strong.
We stand together. It's why we're ATL strong.
Practicing faith and not fear, hope and not despair, because we're ATL strong.
Nothing can divide us. We are ATL strong.
We are ATL strong.
We can do this. We are resilient. We are ATL strong.
In difficult times, we'll continue to keep our communities ATL strong.
We can overcome anything. Our city's history proves it. We are ATL strong.
One city together, we are ATL strong.
I am in the fight with you because we are forever ATL strong.
Can one girl in a small town, an architect in a major city, and a suburban high school coach shape the future of the United States? Yes, they can. Because every 10 years, the census gives us that power. You can shape your future by responding to the 2020 census. Where do we need new roads to make our lives easier? Where will new school programs help our children thrive? Where could a new health clinic benefit neighborhoods? The 2020 census will inform these decisions and shape how billions of dollars will be distributed to communities like yours each year. And in 2020, you can respond to the census online, by phone, or by mail. It's easy, safe, and important. Make sure you and everyone you know is counted. Now is the time for you to get involved. Your community needs you. Together, we can educate and excite, inspire and make sure every voice is heard. Together, we can shape our future.
This is Councilmember Jennifer I, the Chair of the Finance Executive Committee. It is now 11 a.m. on Friday, May 22nd, 2020, and this is the continuation of our fourth day of our budget hearing for this proposed fiscal year 21 municipal budget. I'm going to ask Ms. Kempton-Wright if you'd please do a quick roll call to see which council members were able to join us for this presentation, which will be the Office of the Inspector General.
Yes. Council President Felicia A. Moore.
Present.
Councilmember Carla Smith.
I'm present. I'm present.
Councilmember Amir R. Faroki. Councilmember Antonio Brown. Councilmember Cleta Winslow.
Present.
Councilmember Madeline Archibald. Councilmember Jennifer N. Ide.
Present.
Councilmember Howard Shook.
Here.
Councilmember J.P. Mazakai.
Here.
Councilmember Dustin Hillis. Councilmember Andrea L. Boone.
Present.
Councilmember MARCI Collier Overstreet.
Present.
Councilmember Joyce Shepard.
Present.
Councilmember Michael Julian Bond.
Here.
Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. And Councilmember Andre Dickens.
Present.
Madam Chair, there are 11 members on the line, including yourself.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kempson-Wright, and I'm sure there may be other members who cycle in and out as their schedules permit. The public may view this hearing on Channel 26, on Facebook Live, Twitter, under the Atlanta City Council pages, on the City Council homepage and YouTube, as well as by listening by the conference bridges. All of the presentation materials are available on the Council's website, located under the Finance Executive Committee Fiscal Year 21 budget page. So we are going to kick this session off with the Office of Inspector General for Council members. That's on page 379 of your printed book, or 381 of the electronic version, which is what is posted on the Council website. And there also, for council members, there was a line item adjustment sheet that was sent out with the PowerPoint presentation, so you may want to pull that up on your email so you can look at that. I'm going to take just one moment before I hand it over to sort of set the stage on this, and for the public that may not have kept up on it, is that City Council and the Mayor created a new Office of Inspector General legislatively in the last few months. So there is some restructuring here. There will be a new Office of Inspector General that has 3 divisions. The Compliance Division, which is a new division, although it is very similar to the Office of Compliance and Ethics that had been envisioned and approved by City Council and the Mayor, but never really stood up. And the Inspector General, who is yet to be hired, will oversee that division. The second division will be our independent procurement review that we call IPRO, which currently resides in the auditor's office. Legislatively, that operation moves over to the Office of Inspector General only after we've hired the Inspector General. So for budget purposes right now, that remains in the auditor's budget, and we will hear from the auditor about her budget after the Office of Inspector General. But just know that once the Inspector General has been hired, that we will do legislation to do a budget amendment to pull the funding over there. And then the Ethics Office is the third division, which will continue to be run by our current Ethics Officer, Jabu Sengoba. And so this was a little bit of a different situation here, putting together a budget where we haven't hired essentially who will be the commissioner of the budget and staffed it up. But Ms. Sengoba, our ethics officer, has been kind enough to take the lead in the budget presentation for the entire Office of Inspector General and walk us through that. I'm happy if there are questions that sort of relate to the legislative piece to answer questions also, because I know it's Ms. Sengoba is going to be covering the ethics piece and also the office as a whole. So I'm going to welcome this morning Jabu Sengoba, our ethics officer, Carlos Santiago, our deputy ethics officer, and Sherry Dawson,
our business manager to give the presentation for the Office of Inspector General. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of council, and citizens of Atlanta. My name is Jabu Sengova, and I currently serve as the Ethics Officer for the Ethics Division with the Office of Inspector General. Today, I have with me, again, Deputy Ethics Officer Carlos Santiago, Sherry Dawson, Business Manager, and Ms. Nicola Hines, the Chair of our board, should also be on the line. Again, I'm here to present on behalf of the new Office of Inspector General, and I will mostly focus on the Ethics Division once I've done my general introduction. So the administration's proposal for the FY21 budget for the Office of Inspector General is $2.1 million, which again is referenced at page 379 of the budget book. It's my understanding the IG Compliance Division has been allocated a budget of $1 million, which supports any existing positions and any additional positions once the IG is hired. Now, the Ethics Division is allocated a budget of $1.1 million, and the budget for the Independent Procurement Review Division would be again transferred from the City Auditor to the IG budget once the IG is hired, as Madam Chair said earlier. Now, going to slide 2, we've somewhat laid out what we believe is the structure of the new Office of Inspector General based on the existing legislation. So again, you see there are 3 divisions: compliance, ethics, and the Independent Procurement Review. Now, the governing board is currently working on the search for the Inspector General, and that is expected. It's expected that the IPRO function and position to be transferred once the Inspector General is hired and onboarded to the city. So again, that should happen once the search is complete and that person is hired. Now I will turn to discussion on the Ethics Division, which is the division that I lead. Turning to slide 3, the Ethics Office, under the supervision of the board, is tasked with protecting the integrity of the city government, and we promote a culture of ethics. The Ethics Division, provides training and education, of course, advises on ethical standards, investigates complaints, requires disclosure of interest, and brings enforcement action. And again, the key areas that our division covers and will continue to cover are gifts, gratuities, use of city property, outside employment, financial disclosure. Turning to slide 4, we provided an overview of the division and the existing organizational chart for the current employees. We currently have 7 full-time positions, 1 seasonal filled position, and we do have only 1 vacant position. Next, I will turn to our FY20 accomplishments, which are going to be listed on the next 3 slides, 5, 6, and 7. We were able to complete and launch our new ethics e-file system earlier this year, and we were able to go through a cycle of the financial disclosure filing. We hired an administrative assistant to meet the demands of our growing office. We provided classroom and online training to approximately 1,200 officials and employees. As part of our public education outreach efforts, we've distributed ethics educational materials and sent out our ethics newsletter as part of our program. We also received a proclamation along with the city auditor from the City Council during the International Fraud Awareness Week for efforts to raise awareness on fraudulent and unethical behavior. We issued formal and informal opinions and advice within a timely manner as part of our commitment to the public, and that number continues to rise, which is a positive. Also, for a 3rd year, our office has participated in a training program that was sponsored by the Department of Aviation for contractors and vendors, and that event was well attended and received. Now, this year, our deputy ethics officer did that session, and he actually did it virtually, and it was quite a success. We've completed several ethics investigations, and collected fines for violations. We've received 136 hotline complaints, which is, I guess, goes to our hotline, and that was a 42% increase in complaints from the prior year. So again, people continue to use the hotline, which is the reason for the increase. We achieved a successful 92% filing rate for city financial disclosure statements and awarded departments and city boards with exemplary filing for their efforts. Now, we turn to slide H, which addresses our major objectives for fiscal year 2021. We hope to develop and launch, and we're working on that now, a second phase of ethics e-learning. Our first phase was some years ago, and we now are developing a second phase. And we also are looking into developing an electronic version of the new employee orientation ethics session. And we've seen that is a great need, especially now having to work in this virtual space. We are working on increasing training citywide, as training is a critical function of this office. We'll continue to advocate for legislation that would strengthen portions of the ethics code. One of the things that we did do this year was the audit of financial disclosure forms. We completed our first audit last year for accuracy and to determine any potential conflicts. So we continue to do that since we do have the staff and resources now. We'll continue to set policies through our advisory opinions and ethical guidelines and continue robust public education outreach efforts. Finally, we strive to complete our ethics investigation within a timely manner, which of course depends on the complexity of the matter. And it is our hope to fill the vacant Ethics Advisor 2 position. We do appreciate the administration and City Council's budgetary support, again, as we do prepare for a new era under the Office of Inspector General. At this time, I would like to personally thank the staff for their continued support, hard work, dedication, and flexibility over the past year, especially during this COVID-19 period, as we have all had to make some quick adjustments in the virtual space. We have navigated through some tough challenges this past year. However, we have persisted in our commitment to make sure ethics is how we do business and serve our citizens of Atlanta. That ends my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sengova. Before I turn it over for questions, I do want to just provide a little bit more information. And again, I don't want to step out of line because this will be the purview of our Inspector General to make these decisions. But just so council members have some context for what could be done from a personnel perspective with the money that has been allotted to the Office of Inspector General outside of the ethics money, so really for compliance and for oversight of IPRO and for running the office. I did work with the budget team, and they worked with human resources. And with the money that has been allotted, there is room, if this is the way that the Inspector General chose to structure the office, to have the Inspector General, a compliance deputy or director, an executive assistant at the senior level, and 3 investigation managers. So if that helps people just sort of envision a proposed framework of what could be done with the funds that are being made available, and that would also leave some room for extra help salary, professional services, and supplies. So with that, I am going to turn it over. I believe that Council President Felicia Moore is first in line.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And thank you for texting back and forth on the budget and the budget questions I asked earlier. So I'm comfortable with the level of funding to start off with and with the Inspector General, and look forward to the board moving forward on that selection. So I had a couple of questions and then a comment. Ms. Singova, does the board have a time frame that they're working with, or, where are they in that process?
I believe Council President Moore, I believe the board chair is on the line currently. Ms. Hines?
Okay.
I just want to make sure she's on.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm here. I'm Nicola Hines, chair of the governing board of the Office of Inspector General. Got to get all that out. It's brand new in my mind. Yes, so we are following the guidelines from the Human Resources Department for the City of Atlanta. We've been working through those guidelines, obviously virtually, conference calls. So we are just at the moment, we've just received a couple of days ago the RFP quotes for the search firm. And so we are about to put our recommendation towards the search firm back to the city so that we can start the search.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you all, the board and the new board, with the new members for you all service. And my comment is to thank also Ms. Singova, who's, worked through a lot of the legislative issues that we had in coming up with the Inspector General's office and just stepping in the fray and trying to keep it going while the board is working to get an Inspector General. I just wanted you to know you and your deputy and your staff, thank you all for what you all are doing. And on the ethics part, the only question that I would have is in terms of your workload, is it higher, lower, or about the same as you have had previously?
So I would say, are we talking from the virtual space or just for the entire year?
For the entire year, and I guess, pre-COVID-19, I think. And if there is some difference after the COVID-19 era, which was a couple months ago, you can indicate that as well.
But I would say we definitely haven't slowed down as to the fact that I had to pull in another person to help on the administrative side. So, yeah, we've had an extremely busy year. And that's even given from the increase from the complaints through the integrity line. So we have not slowed down. And from post-COVID, or rather during the COVID period, we've been extremely busy because, as you all know, we've just completed our the financial disclosure filing, and we were able to navigate through the virtual space to make sure that people filed their disclosure statements. But we had a share of challenges, but we got through it.
Okay. Well, thank you, and again, thank you all for your service. Madam Chair, I am done.
Thank you, Council President Moore, and thank you for all of your work in this area on the Compliance Office and the Inspector General. Colleagues, if anybody else has a question, if you'll send me a message, I will get you in line. And I do just want to say thank you to to our ethics officer, Ms. Singova, for the work that you're doing, continuing to move this forward, and for taking this on for budgetary purposes and working with the board on getting the entire department set up. And thank you so much to Ms. Hines, our board chair, for taking the lead on this. And we're all very excited about getting this new department set up. It's been a lot of hard work and energy and thought, both on the council side and on the mayor's side. And I definitely think it's just going to make our city even stronger and a real example for other cities. All right, colleagues, anybody else have a question about either ethics or the overall Office of Inspector General? And the iPro piece, Amanda Noble will be able to speak to once we get to audit, but this is your chance on Inspector General or ethics. Oh, all right, let's see. Councilmember Overstreet, you have the floor.
Per se, I just want to, thank you.
I almost missed my chance, but I don't have a question per se, but I just wanted to make sure that I thank the whole ethics department and city council for, really digging in and making sure that we're changing the way we do business here in the city by, implementing this Department of Inspectors General. It is monumental, and I really appreciate all of the work that the law department, the administration, the city council put in, especially Chair I, and just, wanted to thank Jabu and her entire team. And that's it. Just want to make sure everyone knows that we've done really good work, and we're looking forward to adjusting this budget and paying attention to where we can grow and always keep top of mind how important this department is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Overstreet, and I will echo that. I can really say, everything that I have worked on in City Council this term, this is what I am the most proud of, and a tremendous amount of work went into it from my colleagues, Councilmember Overstreet, Councilmember Shook, Council President Moore. On the council side, the law department, our city attorney, and Amber Robinson did a tremendous amount of work. The Chief of Staff, Carmen Chubb, and Chief Operating Officer Josh Williams and their team, as well as, of course, our mayor. So this was really a fantastic effort. I'm thrilled to see it, being funded, being operational, and to hear from the board chair that they are in the process of hiring it. I do want to, again, thank our ethics officer and our auditor for all of their work and their input on coming up with a structure that I think is really just going to lead our city in the right direction. So with that being said, it is 11:22, but we are going to, unless Ms. Fingova or Ms. Hines have further comment, we are going to go on recess, and we will come back at noon to hear from our auditors. So, Ms. Fingova or Ms. Hines, anything else from you all?
No, I just wanted to thank you all for your support, and we are preparing for this new era. Thank you all.
And same here. This is Ms. Hines. Nope, I just want to thank you guys and working with us with the process of getting this on board. And the board is also very excited. We've been in contact with each other, through this pandemic, and so we're really excited about what's going to happen with this new era. So we're excited to get back into our seats at City Hall.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you. It's 11:23. We're going to go on a recess, and we'll be back at noon to hear from the city auditor. Thank you.